Just picture it. It's a beautifully warm November evening in 1948. This guy is just chilling on Somerton Beach in Australia, looking out at the water. Two different people happen to see him that night. They watch him lift his right arm and just let it drop, assuming he's settling in for a nap. They figured he was just sleeping on the sand, so they left him completely alone. But the very next morning, early in the summer, some folks out riding horses spotted him. He was in the exact same spot, right at dawn. When they went a little closer to check on him, they realized he wasn't sleeping at all. The unknown man had passed away. The police arrive, they take him to a doctor, and the doctors look really, really closely. But they absolutely couldn't figure out why he died. There was no natural cause of death at all. They even started thinking maybe it was some sort of unknown poison. So the police go digging through his pockets, looking for a wallet, an ID, literally anything. But nothing. Not even a real name. Just a couple of tickets to nowhere. They checked all their police record books, but his fingerprints were totally missing. Nobody had a single clue who this mystery man was. The news spread around the whole country. Spread pretty wild, actually. A newspaper was even like, hey, is this local guy E.C. Johnson? And then the actual E.C. Johnson just casually strolls into the police station to prove he is in fact very much alive. A little awkward, right? The police kept digging for real answers, and eventually they checked a train station storage room. They found a single brown suitcase that had been dropped off on the day he died. This suitcase definitely belonged to our mysterious guy. They tear the suitcase apart, but his identity is completely scrubbed. They couldn't find a name anywhere in the bag. The mystery was just getting bigger and bigger by the day. Months go by, until a doctor checking his clothes finds something totally wild. A tiny, completely hidden pocket, and inside that pocket was a tiny, rolled-up piece of paper with two weird words printed right on it. Tamam shud. In Persian, it basically means, it is finished. The paper had actually been torn from a poetry book called the Rubaiyat. When the police told the newspapers about this scrap of paper, they put out a massive call for this torn poetry book. And randomly, a guy comes forward. He just found the exact book tossed into the backseat of his unlocked car. That car had been parked right near the beach, and wouldn't you know it, the torn piece of paper matched the book perfectly. It was the exact copy. This book was a massive new clue. The police looked closely at it and found some faint writing on the back cover. It was this strange mix of big letters that completely resembled a secret spy code. Code breakers tried every trick they had, but it was a total dead end. Nobody could figure it out. It remained a total secret. But tucked back there, they found something way more useful. A local phone number. They called it right away, and it belonged to a local nurse. Her name was Jessica Ellen Thompson, though people called her Joe or Justin. She lived incredibly close to the beach, right near where the man was found. The police asked Justin about him, and she flat out said she didn't know him at all. But she was being super evasive during the questioning. The police definitely felt she was hiding something. They even showed her a creepy plaster model they made of the dead man's face to see if she'd crack, and she still swore she didn't know him. She did, however, know about the poetry book. She admitted she had once given a copy to a soldier named Alf Boxall. The police immediately thought they had their guy. So they tracked down the soldier, and yeah, Alf Boxall's totally fine. He's alive, well, and he even still has his copy of the book Justin gave him. So the dead man was definitely not Alf. Another massive dead end. With nowhere else to turn, the dead man had to be buried. They laid him to rest at West Terrace Cemetery, with no real name on his grave. And the case just grew cold for decades. Over time, people started telling these wild, wild stories about the Somerton man. You have to remember, the Cold War made people really paranoid. Secret codes and unknown poisons sounded straight out of a tense international spy thriller. A lot of folks fully believed he was a secret agent wrapped up in a massive conspiracy. But others, they thought it was just this sad, tragic love story. They figured the man loved Justin the nurse, came to see her that night, and was just completely brokenhearted when he died. Decades passed with zero real answers. The police had kept that plaster model of his face, and they thankfully kept a single hair from his head. The rest of the trail completely faded away. Until a professor named Derek Abbott learned about the mystery. He spent years studying the strange case, becoming a major expert on the clues, and he wanted to solve it using modern science. Abbott started thinking about that old hair, because new science can find incredible secrets locked inside, because DNA basically acts like a deeply hidden map of a family. The professor asked the police for permission to dig up the man's body. They finally agreed in 2021. They opened the grave to get fresh DNA, and Abbott had those hairs tested in a lab. They were able to extract tiny, fragile pieces of DNA from just a single hair, which was a remarkably hard job to pull off. Abbott then teamed up with a special DNA expert named Colleen Fitzpatrick. They used that DNA to build a family tree, looking for people with matching trees. Building that tree was exactly like piecing together a giant, sprawling puzzle. The tree led them to a handful of brothers and sisters, almost all of whom had clear death dates, but one brother simply vanished from all records. He had no date of death listed anywhere. They had to look through thousands of family names to find him, narrowing them down one by one until things slowly started to point to one specific missing link in Victoria, Australia. This missing brother had a real name. His name was Carl Charles Webb, born in 1905. He was an engineer and an instrument maker. Charles Webb fit the mystery man perfectly, and the DNA matched him without a single doubt. In 2022, they announced the big news. The Somerton man finally had a real identity. The professor learned a lot more about Charles Webb. He was separated from his wife, he had no children of his own, and he was the only sibling without a death record. His death became a giant mystery so fast just because he was found during the scary Cold War. People genuinely thought he was this international man of mystery slipping magic poison, but nah, he was just Charles, a regular guy who made electrical instruments for a living. He was definitely not a Russian spy. And even that secret code that terrified everyone, experts now think it might just be everyday English shorthand for betting on horses. Or, honestly, just completely meaningless scribbles. The police could never actually find any poison traces, so that theory was never proven either. No grand conspiracy, just a guy. Charles Webb just died alone on the dark sand. Doctors said it was from unnatural causes, which makes it a really sad ending to his life. It took over 70 years, but his identity isn't missing anymore. Science did what old police tricks just couldn't do. Modern science basically acted like a time machine, pulling his identity right out of the past. DNA connected a single hair to a name, and a puzzle from 1948 was finally solved in 2022. People around the world were totally amazed by this news. The famous Somerton man was finally unmasked, and folks everywhere celebrated this huge breakthrough. Professor Abbott had done the impossible. The whole vibe of the story completely changed, from a thriller to a tragedy. We stopped seeing him as a secret agent and started seeing him as a real, vulnerable human being. A lost brother, an engineer. Charles Webb can now rest in total peace. His family finally knows what happened, the empty gravestone gets a real name, and the endless guessing game is officially over. But you know, some small questions will always stay. We'll never know exactly how he died or why he was there on that beach. The past always hides some of its secrets. The secret code might just be a big distraction. The simplest answer is often the right one, and mysteries are usually just regular missing pieces. The case really teaches us to look past the wild stories. People invent things to replace the missing truth. We invented spies simply because we were very scared. But the truth is often very ordinary. The Somerton man case shows the sheer power of science. It shows that nobody is ever truly lost. Even after 70 years, you can be found. Tiny clues can unlock the biggest doors. Charles Webb was just a regular person who lived a small life and died quietly. His death became a giant legend completely by accident, and now the legend has turned back into a man. A single hair changed history, and a tiny scrap of paper started the whole journey. We finally stop looking for ghosts and spies, and we start seeing real people and their quiet sadness. We remember Charles Webb exactly as he really was. The mystery of the Somerton man isn't really about spies at all. It's about how hard it is to be remembered. We all kind of want our lives to mean something grand, but in the end, we are all just waiting to be known. It's a pretty heavy thought to leave you with, but such a beautiful resolution to a decades-old mystery. If you enjoyed wandering through this story with me today, take a second to hit that like button, share this with a friend who loves a good mystery, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss out when we untangle the next one.